Now, this video shows you what we have to deal with as far as Americans go. Now, this lady, I agree with a lot of what she has to say. Now, this sicko on the bottom, this guy's disgusting. He gets off on this shit, and that's disgusting too. See, we don't know whether what this lady's story is true or not. A lot of the stuff that she has to say is absolutely spot on. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that she says that is absolutely not. But this guy gets off on it. Now, there's a possibility that the story that this lady is telling is entirely fiction and never happened. There's also the chance that she's one of the fat moms. Now, what's a fat mom? This is what we in the 1980s and early 90s called that mother who her son would show up and fucking bully people and assault people and think that it's okay and laugh and all sorts of stuff at their victims. And then their mama would show up and, oh, it's not my son's fault. These kids are bullying my son. No, your son is a fucking piece of shit. Now, there's a possibility that this lady is not a fat mom. Now, one of the things that we noticed as children in the 1980s is that these were primarily single mothers. Your son couldn't do no wrong because, why? Because he's yours? No, your son keeps doing wrong because every time that he assaults somebody, you come to his goddamn rescue. Well, one of these days he's going to be a grown-ass adult and his ass is going to prison for this. People don't care what your opinion is. Now, of course, she's prettier than some people, so a lot of people are going to listen to what she has to say. Her opinion is more valid to many people because of the way that she looks. But realistically, a lot of guys look at her and go, oh, well, she's wearing makeup. I don't know what she looks like. But this guy down here, he's not wearing makeup. He's just getting off on it. Now let's press play.
So I was telling a client that this year, my son dropped a kid for calling his Vietnamese friend racial slurs. He told him...
Now, this might be true. It might be. But you get to hear, here in Oregon at least, they consider racial slurs to be apparently some sort of freedom of speech. So you're not allowed to assault somebody over freedom of speech. They're allowed to call you the N-word. They're allowed to call you the C-word. They're allowed to call you the H-word. They're just not allowed to threaten you. Otherwise, it becomes a hate crime. They're not allowed to assault you, or it becomes a hate crime. Now, when she wants to talk about putting hands on people, well, maybe it happened the way that she said, but she wasn't there. Her son was. And this guy just, the whole time, is getting off on this shit. It's disgusting. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're being assaulted, legally, the advice that you're supposed to be given is to walk away. Well, what if you're disabled and literally can't outpace your opponent at that point, or your assailant? It's a shitty situation. So, do I agree with dropping bullies? No. I believe that everybody should have the right to defend themselves. And I believe that if somebody is harming others in front of you, you do have the right to step in. It is your right to have the balls to do the right thing. Are you going to? See, the law doesn't care if you do the right thing or not. They only care how much money you have. Do you have the money to get away with doing illegal shit? Are you so broke that you can be arrested on false charges and still be convicted because no one gives a shit? Reality of our world. When I was growing up at school, especially in Washington State and in Colorado. I had to deal with a lot of people who were physically combative, a lot of people who were bullies. Now, if I got assaulted at school and I had to go tell my dad about it, I'd get beaten for a second time. It didn't matter if I won the fight or lost the fight. By the way, I won quite a few fights and lost quite a few fights. The ability to beat somebody up doesn't make you a good guy or a bad guy, and it doesn't make you tough either. Tough isn't your ability to beat somebody up. It's about your ability to take an ass whooping and keep on going. Now, if what this lady's story is actually true, well, yeah, absolutely, this kid did the right thing. He was standing up to racists. But he also put his hands on somebody who wasn't putting their hands on him. Now, of course, these are kids that she's talking about. Once you become an adult, the rules become very, very different. And her son's going to learn that the hard way because she's taught him violence as the answer. If he doesn't record these things showing that he's right, he can go to prison easily.
To quit being a fucking racist. And the kid put his hands on him, and my son gave him something to think about on the way to the nurse.
Now, of course, if I'd have done that, what would have happened? I would have been assumed to be the person who started it. I would have been sent home. My dad probably would have thumped on me, as per usual, and told me that it's not okay to be fighting in school. Well, it didn't start off as a fight. It started off with people putting their hands on me. Now, over and over again, when people have put their hands on me in my life, there have been people nearby who were scared because I was calm after the situation in most situations, but not all of them. The third, fourth, fifth time you assault me, I'm sick of that.
Picked my kid up from school and took him for ice cream. And my client said,
now, taking him for ice cream, if he did the right thing, well, I can understand telling him he did the right thing. I think giving him ice cream over it may not be the best idea, because now you're rewarding him for violence with treats. You can do the right thing and still not be proud about it. And we shouldn't be teaching people to be proud about certain things. This is one of them. Yeah, be proud of yourself for standing up for somebody else. That's fine. Absolutely. But, I've done the right thing because it's the right thing to do for a lot of years. I don't get payment for it, and I don't expect payment for it. And, of course, her client claims that she might be part of the problem. Maybe she is, maybe she ain't. We all got our own opinions. I personally believe that whether you're a kid or an adult, you should be able to defend yourself against these people. Somebody starts calling you racist names, you have to worry that that person is going to try to catch you in an alley. That's reality. So I do agree with a lot of this stuff that she's saying. I disagree with some of it. This guy at the bottom, like I said, is the most disgusting part of it.
Says, stop telling your kids if someone hits them, hit them back. You're part of the problem. No, I'm not.
It depends. If your son bullies somebody into a corner and they have to physically plow their way through, that's one thing. Now, like I said, we don't have any video of this incident. We don't know if this woman's story is true. We are aware already that she had to go to school to pick him up, which means that she wasn't actually there to observe it.
Not. I'm the solution your kid wasn't ready for. If you think.
Now, the solution your kid wasn't ready for, let me tell you how it works. in school. All right? Now, it might be different now, but here's how it was when I was in school. If your parent gives a shit, you get to walk. If your parent doesn't give a shit, you get the blame. Pretty easy.
I'm going to send my child into school like a little lamb and tell him, go get an adult in the midst of being mollywopped.
And this is my reality. This is what I'm told as an adult. As an adult, I'm supposed to go to these whatevers. They're not superior people. What are we supposed to call them? People in charge? We're supposed to go to the police. We're supposed to go to all these other people. They don't do shit when you're broke. They don't care when you're broke. They don't care when you're alone. You know, that kid got into trouble, and if it hadn't been for his mommy, he'd still be in trouble. But he's got his mommy there, and I'm fine with that. When we're being harmed, we all need someone to hear our side, to help our side get heard, instead of us being victimized and assumed to be guilty. But also, we got to hear recordings of a man who threatened to kill me on multiple occasions. We got to hear the actual threats from this man. And of course, there's multiple videos of him threatening others and throwing things at, well, primarily me. Things, some cases, could have killed me. But I spent 15 months in jail because after I left that man's house, he came at me not once, but twice. 2 separate occasions. He came at me with a pole. And I was arrested because I'm homeless. That's the reality. Homelessness and homeless people are assumed to be guilty. Now, some people have a mom that will bail their ass out. Most of us have to deal with reality. We don't have a fat mom.
Absolutely fucking not. This isn't Daniel Tiger's conflict resolution. This is real life.
And when I say this, I'm treated like I'm an idiot, right? We've got conflict resolution. What are we supposed to do? What was I instructed to do with Natalie Bollinger? I'm supposed to get a hold of her and let her know how the things that she's saying are hurting me. I'm supposed to tell her that these people who are assaulting me because they heard a rumor, I'm supposed to tell her how much that emotionally feels, how it emotionally hurts me. Is she going to give a fuck? No, she's going to play goddamn victim just like everybody else. You cannot tell a predator, hey, something that you are doing is hurting me, because they're not going to stop and think about you as a human being. They've neglected that through the entire series of your engagements. They don't see you as a person. Saying, hey, when you call me the F word for homosexual, it makes me feel bad. When you're punching me in the face because you assumed I'm a homosexual, it makes me feel bad. They don't give a fuck if you feel bad. They get off on your pain, just like this sick shit at the bottom. Look at this fucking nut job. And you guys go, oh, well, how dare you call him the names that you're called? No. This is reciprocation. This is exactly what this woman's talking about. If you're assaulting people, they have the right to defend themselves. Maybe her son was the assailant. Maybe he was the victim. We don't actually know. We don't have any video footage of it. So we're basing this just on what this lady has to say. Now, what she's saying is, don't be a victim. But the reality is, without his mama there, he would have been victimized either way. Now, let's say she was to have a heart attack tomorrow, and he got into another fight over the same thing. Well, because she died, maybe they'll feel sorry for him and let him have leniency and say, well, he might have beat that other kid up because he feels bad because his mom died, right? Well, let's say it's 6 months down the road after his mom died and an incident happened. Does that make it okay? She's not there to protect him, so he's probably going to jail. If they've already decided that your son is in the wrong and you got to go pick his ass up as a result of it, if you weren't there, yeah, he'd have gone to jail. That's reality. So she's given him advice that's literally going to get him put in prison when he's an adult. Now, as a kid, we can understand this. Defend yourself, protect yourself. But at the same time, the teachers and the courts aren't on the sides of the people who defended themselves. They're on the sides of the people with the money and the people with the popularity. If the kid who beat you up is popular, his mom's blowing the sheriff, yeah, it doesn't matter how right you are. They're not going to look at it that way. God damn it. Ugh.
So I was telling a client that this year, my son dropped a kid for calling his Vietnamese friend.
So these are socioeconomic issues. Whether or not you're heard is more dependent upon, well, the three main things that people care about is your looks, your money, and of course, your backup. This kid had his mom as his backup. It could have been his dad, it could have been his brother, it could have been his best friend, but he had backup. He had somebody to help hear his side and somebody who cared. Now, her son might be completely in the wrong. Like I said, we don't have the video, we don't know. And like I said, the dude on the bottom just grosses me out. He gets off on this. Look at his face. Oh my God. Like he's spooging in his fucking pants, hearing about kids beating on other kids. This is stupid.
Like a little lamb and tell him, go get an adult in the midst of being mollywopped. Absolutely.
Now, this is definitely the situation I have to deal with. I'm told all sorts of things that I should have done while people are beating me up, right? Like a guy charges me, plows me to the ground, and tells me to get the hell out of town. I'm using a cane. I literally can't run away from the guy. What am I supposed to do? Repeatedly, I've been assaulted in this town. The cops won't do shit about the assaults, but they'll arrest me if I... And mind you, I didn't even defend myself against the guy. I yelled, but I didn't actually defend myself. I stayed on my knees the whole time because I couldn't stand up. The guy's name is Mossam Vijan. It was the second time he came at me with that pipe. And I got arrested. I got arrested for assault, despite the fact that I never got off my knees. And they had to drop the charges. Imagine that.
Absolutely fucking not. This isn't Daniel Tiger's conflict resolution. This is real life.
In real life, telling your predator, like, this is what we're taught from when we're kids, isn't it? We're taught, all right, so if you're being bullied, you're supposed to go to your bully, and you're supposed to tell him how it makes you feel. If the bullying is over a rumor, you go to the source of the rumor, and you tell that person what's going on and how it makes you feel. So I tried that with Tim Beeson. Tried that with Natalie Bollinger. What did that result in? Them pretending that I was a stalker. Like, Tim Beeson had been stalking me for fucking months. Like, by the time I even used a curse word over the situation, by the time I finally cursed at Natalie Bollinger, It had been 6 months of hell. And Tim Beeson was getting a hold of me, threatening my life, threatening my family's life, threatening my friends' lives. But I'm not allowed to defend myself. I'm not allowed to fight back. I have to just take it. That's everybody's solution. Just take it. Why don't you just ignore it? You ever ignored a 200-pound man punching you in the side of the head? If he was a smarter man, he would have punched me somewhere different. Still doesn't feel good.
I don't raise bullies, but I'm sure as shit not raising a victim who stands there like, please stop hitting me, I'm emotionally aware.
Now this woman right there, she's saying some mentally retarded shit. Yeah, when somebody's hitting you, you don't pull the I'm emotionally aware thing. This woman is fucking stupid saying that shit. No, you're going to make fun of people? No. That's not okay. That's not okay. The way that she's doing it is not okay.
My kid's gonna pop off like they've been waiting their whole life for the green light.
That's right. She's teaching her kids to be violent, that violence is the solution. Now, in nearly all of the situations with fat moms, their kids started the violence. Their kids started picking on others. Their kids started putting their hands on others. And in most cases, they had a friend helping them bully. Now, there's a possibility that this other kid that was getting bullied was a part of this. Like I said, we haven't seen the video. But right here, she is super excited about telling her son to beat on people. Again, she's not always going to be there, and his ass will go to prison. When you teach your son that violence is okay, and then he goes and does violent things, and then you bail him out, you're teaching him that violence is okay. Now, she says her client says she's part of the problem. Well, that depends on the situation. Again, we didn't see it. But we are seeing that we've got a bunch of sickos like this. This is the majority of the sickos that we have on YouTube and Facebook posting content. Sickos like this who get off on violence, kind of like those gun folks who want to make fun of autistic folks and homeless folks and the LGBT community. Like, all right, dude, you're a gun channel making fun of these people. Yes, that can and should be taken directly as a threat towards homosexuals. It should be taken directly as a threat towards autistic people. It really should. And then, of course, these people get off when a homosexual says, hey, I got a gun too, and I'm willing to defend myself if you guys come to my door. And then, of course, it becomes this big old thing where we've got a bunch of racist idiots who want to brag about their guns. And this is the reality of this kind of woman and her mentality, and especially this guy's mentality. You can see this. He's thoroughly enjoying this. Like, he's probably got his other hand down his pants while he's listening to this shit. Violence is rarely the answer, but when it is the answer, it is the only answer. And I truly believe that. But to encourage violence before the fact and to reward violence after the fact, we need to know the facts. And we haven't seen any facts. We're just hearing her side.
I'm not going to sit there in the principal's office like, oh, I told him to walk away.
Oh, he just had an orgasm.
I told him to aim center mass and don't stop until it's over.
My dad told me if people are beating on me at school, that I need to just let them do it. Of course, my dad's a fucking idiot. I don't think he's alive anymore either, so I guess that's a positive thing. But you get to see this guy right here, how excited he gets over stories of violence. This guy's a sicko.
And if your kid started it, I don't care how it ended. If you want to raise your child to be a gentle negotiator,
Was she there to see it? The other thing is, she wants to basically try to insinuate that anybody who tries to resolve this without violence first, that she's going to basically try to paint them out as a namby-pamby, sissy la-la. No, teach your son to use his fucking brain first. His brain first. There are plenty of situations that I've been able to find my way out of violence just by using my brain. There have been plenty of situations where I was able to stop violence against others just by being there and speaking up. There's lots of people that are going to put their hands on you in life. At the same time, we need proof of it. We have, well, the modern age. We have these here telephones that record this stuff at our fingertips. But we're not hearing the other kid's side, and that's a big issue for me. We're also not hearing her son's side. And, of course, there's this guy just being disgusting.
Negotiator, go for it. But if they bring that open palm diplomacy into a hallway...
Open palm diplomacy. That's not diplomacy. See, what she's talking about is violence. Violence is very different. But again, this guy right here is getting off on it. Look at that face. This is what's wrong with America. 99% chance they're both Republicans.
Fist fight, they're gonna meet my kids' knuckle biscuits. I'm not sending my kids to school so they can work on their breathing exercises mid-ass whooping. They're not gonna sit there like...
Now here's the thing. If her son had been in school with me, would he have had the opportunity to go get an adult? No, he would not have. I was not a nice child. The moment you put your hands on me, I went from being super, super, super nice to anything I can get a hold of, I'm going to try to break off. See, when you teach your son to get violent, he might end up with somebody who's, well, tougher than he is. He also might end up with somebody who's meaner than he is. Somebody who's bigger than he is, with more experience than he has. When you go promoting violence as your solution, well, violence is what you get back.
I'm feeling unsafe in my body right now.
See, there she goes. Just making fun of people. Now, we're not allowed to fight back. Her son is allowed to fight. He's got a mom who gives a shit. Of course, she's got to make fun of the people that don't have a mommy to bail them out. I don't get embarrassed. It's an autism thing. But if her son's not autistic, he's probably pretty fucking embarrassed about his mama doing this.
And if you think that way, it's because your kid loses every fight they start.
Ah, yes. She wants to project that their kid loses fights and that their kids start the fights. And that is very, very rarely the reality. Most of the time, the person who starts the fight wins the fight. That's true. However, experience can trump that stupidity. But this woman here, of course, her son could do no wrong, right? We're listening to this crap. At this point, it's just an advertisement for Republicans to go assault people who aren't looking for violence. She's going out of her way to target people very specifically who are not violent, not looking for violence, and trying to project violence onto these people. That's not okay. If the kid that your son got into a fight with is a bully, your son and that kid got into a fight. It's between those two. And this lady is shitting on everybody, shitting on other people's parents, shitting on the fact that, well, her son is showing right now, just from her speaking, he's showing his white privilege. In reality, is it a privilege? Well, yeah. White privilege is the fact that we're less likely to be shot by police, less likely to be arrested for false charges, and we're less likely to be convicted by a jury. Now, whether you want to agree with that or not, I don't care what color you are, it's reality. As a homeless person, you are more likely to be convicted than a child molester. You are more likely to be convicted than a lot of very, very violent criminals. Nobody cares about the homeless. Of course, we've also got the promotion of violence from this lady. And at this point, it is a promotion of violence. And not only a promotion of violence, but at this point, this guy especially, we need to be looking at this as, what do they call that? Sexual preference. This guy probably sits down watching MMA, jerking off, watching two grown men beat the shit out of each other. I wouldn't be surprised to find that this guy has little kid wrestling videos that he fucking pumps it to.
Cry about it. So I was telling...
The cry about it thing, yes. See, this is, of course, the situation. These are kids. She wants to teach her son to be a bully. Well, I would like to see in the future what happens to him. What are the chances that she is a single mother? They're pretty good in this country. What are the chances that that's her fault? That's also pretty good in this country.
A client that this year my son dropped a...
So the situation here, I wholeheartedly agree. If this is a true story about her son, I wholeheartedly agree. But at the same time, with this guy down here and with the reality of the situation that we live in, the fact that certain people are not allowed to defend themselves and certain people are allowed to bully. Well, we need to do something about that. We need to do something, first of all, about the Republican situation. These people think it's okay for them to do horrible things to anybody else, and nobody else should be allowed to say anything. Why am I specifically downing on the Republican Party? Because they're fucking disgusting. This is the party started by Abraham Lincoln. Now, when they had a vote here in Oregon about whether or not they should keep slavery legal in Oregon, that's right. You guys say slavery, there's no slavery in America, but reality is, if you're convicted, yes, you can be used as slave labor. And Oregon voted to keep slave labor in. Now, the messed up thing about that, it's slavery. But these are Republicans, and the ones who voted for slavery are Republicans. Republicans want to get free money. They get free money. When a Republican gets disabled, they want help. But they'll look at anybody else and say, oh, they shouldn't be getting disability. They're a freeloader. I should be getting workman's comp because I was injured on the job. But anybody else who's injured on the job is a freeloader who's making it up. And then, of course, we get to hear how much sheer hatred Republicans have for the poor. What's more disgusting than that? Well, the Democrat Party isn't any better. We need to abolish the party system. Political parties themselves need to be abolished and made illegal, the same as, well, Nazism was made illegal in Germany. I believe that there is a time for violence. Absolutely. I believe here in the United States we have surpassed the time for violence. But I also see the people in power and the Republicans. This is your primary gun owners, by the way. They hate. This is a cultural thing for Republicans. They hate anybody who's not Republican, just like Christians hate anybody who's not Christian. If you got a Christian in your jury, you might be screwed just because you got that Christian. I've gotten to hear so many Christians where if somebody is not a Christian, they accuse them of being a devil worshiper, and if they're a devil worshiper, then they're committing all sorts of atrocities. Well, fine, but now we're dealing with actual crazy people. We got schizophrenic people going into juries. Well, that doesn't help out any of us. The thing is, this woman's got a good story, but she's got no evidence to back it up. She's got zero evidence to back up any of her accusations against this kid. She just assumed that her son was in the right, and that's the fat mama thing. Fat moms always believe that their kid is in the right. Their kid couldn't do no wrong, and their kids are the worst kids as a result of it. And God bless America or whatever.